So again, this is a chance for revision, and I talked about this in my blog last week. I always like to have a theme, a purpose to every class, and I'm always talking about learning. I want us to learn more about our bodies, about the movement, about the method. But I also think sometimes it's good for us maybe not to have to learn something new, but simply to practice something we already know, to reaffirm what we're good at, what we understand, what we know, practice it. And it can help just to make us feel maybe a little more confident, maybe a bit more secure in the exercise that we're doing, so that not everything is sort of new to us. And I just think sometimes practice is really good for those of us who are more experienced, this is really good practice. And for those of us who maybe are still on, in the early stages of learning about Pilates, then this will do you lots of good too. So we're going to start down on the floor, but before we do, I want to just touch base with prodding around. Hold on, I'm just going to quickly start this as well. Hold on 1 second. Sorry, what to do with that? No, you, that. Okay, so when I talk about rib to hip, find your bottom rib with your ribs with your thumbs. Find the front of the pelvis, the top of the hip bone with your fingertips. So when I talk about rib to hip, this is what I'm talking about. I talk about sliding the ribs down towards the hips, as opposed to if you let your ribs pull up away from your hips, look what happens to your spine. So that's one of the reference points I make, is try not to let your ribs pull up and away. I sometimes say imagine holding a tennis ball either side between the bottom rib and the hip. I also talk about pulling your ribs away from the front of your t-shirt. So if you want to just practice maybe or just familiarize yourself with that. So again, exactly the same thing. So try not to let this happen through the middle spine, but by trying to send the ribs slightly back and down, it can help to engage the abdominals. I also talk about making a triangle at the front of the pelvis. I say put the heels of your hands onto your hips, thumbs looking at each other across your belly button, fingertips meeting each other at the front of the pelvis. And this is just another little point of reference to help us think about when we're trying to have these 3 points of the pelvis in line with each other, so that if the pubic bone on my fingertips are too far forward, this happens, too far back, that happens, and so on. So I just wanted to touch on that so that when we're on the floor, that all makes sense. Come down to the mat. Do have a block handy, just in case. We're going to start with our posture setup, and this is really good practice. Whatever level you are, whatever experience you have, do get into the habit. Every time you change position from seated to side lying to face down to supine, face up to standing, do your own little posture check. It might take 10 seconds, it might take a little longer. Just a quick check-in, heels in line with sit bones. It's so easy to get a little lazy and a little complacent, and yet we do know this. So heels in line with sit bones, knees at hip width. And something as simple as that. You know, I'm so frequently reminding us about where our feet go. So you could just rest your fingertips on the front of your hips. Feel the width of your hips, and your heels want to be, give or take, about that width, more or less, maybe a fraction more narrow, but give or take about there. Okay, so if your feet are wider than your hips, your knees are already unstable. Okay, think about that neutral shape through the pelvis. So the triangle that I demonstrated, you could do that with your hands. You could do a little bit of a pelvic tilt. Think about your ribs connecting to the floor, space between the collarbones so that both shoulder blades sit as flat as possible to the floor, but without forcing them down. If you're a little bit rounded through the shoulders, a little tight in the chest, then they're not going to want to do that. So you are encouraging a little more space between your collarbones. But if when you pull your shoulders back, you notice that your middle or lower back starts to pop up off the floor, don't go any further, and it's going to be a work in progress. I talk about length of the spine, finding that sense of opposition, trying to push your tailbone forwards towards the space between both feet, pushing the crown of your head backwards towards the wall behind you. So feel that sense of lengthening and reaching out of your fingertips, arms narrow. Try not to have your arms too far away from your sides. Arms are narrow, reaching your fingertips down, breathing into your ribs. So we did our breath work in the Back to Basics one a couple of weeks ago. So I'm not going to go back into that one now. We also talked about TVA and pelvic floor connection in that one. But you can do that in a quick whiz round, or as I say, if you're newer to this, that's going to take a little longer to start with, but it's really good practice. And from here, just to check that everything is where it needs to be, all I want you to do is climb the stairs. Lift one leg into tabletop. Lower your foot back into the same footprint and lift leg two. That's all you're going to do. Let's do 6 or 7 on each side. Take your time. Use your breath to help you keep a consistency with your movement. And by that, what I mean is breathe in on the way up or down, breathe out on the way up or down. That way, you're more likely for the movement to remain the same, as in the range of movement and the speed at which you perform it. Keep it slow and controlled. And while you're doing this, do a quick scan again. Are you breathing into your ribs? Have you got just a very quiet, subtle connection, pelvic floor, deep TVA postural connection there? Can you maintain that length through your spine, pulling the crown of your head away from your tailbone? Are you putting your foot back into the same footprint so that when both feet are on the floor, they're exactly where they started? Can you lift and lower without any movement through your hips and so on? And it doesn't matter how experienced you are, these are so good just to remind us of how many different fundamentals there are in Pilates. Precision of movement, quality of movement, give it purpose. Why are you doing this? What is the point in doing this? And if there is a point in it, which of course there is, then make it worthwhile. Don't get lazy or complacent. So what we're doing here, we're challenging our setup. We're thinking about the width of our feet when we put our foot back down, a little bit of hip mobility, awareness to our setup, awareness to our postural setup and alignment. So let's just have both feet back down to the floor now. And I want you just to flatten your back and arch your back. A very familiar move. Flatten your back and arch your back. Let's just do 3 or 4 more. Now, can you do this without your head moving? Okay, just a couple more like so. So we're going into what we call imprint or pelvic tilt, and then coming into an arched back, and again, imprint, flatten, arch away. Now find that neutral shape. So you've got that triangle at the front of the pelvis. Now lift leg one. Hold your leg in tabletop. If it helps you, just put your hand to the front of your knee and give it a very, very gentle push. No, not you're fighting it, but enough that there's a little bit of resistance so your leg does not move. Now go back into imprint and release. So just rocking your hips flat to the floor and arching away. Can you do that without your lifted leg moving and without the opposite knee tipping in and out? So all you're doing is exactly the same exercise so that the leg that you've got your hand on shouldn't be moving at all. Okay, let's just do 2 more here. Keeping length through your neck. So ideally, not letting your head nod back and forth. Okay, bring your foot to the floor. Now, just hold it a moment with both feet on the floor. Again, little check-in here. So hopefully you didn't feel a big weight shift when your foot came down. And then let's take that second leg away. And same thing again here. So already, even with such a simple move, a few things to think about here. Thinking, okay, yes, I can notice that maybe my head's nodding, or perhaps my shoulders is trying to pop up, or actually holding this lifted leg still is a bit more challenging than I thought, or the leg that's on the floor is trying to wobble out and fall outward, or whatever, any number of things. Let's just do a couple more here. Okay, now what I want you to do is finish with your back flat. Press down into the floor, leave that hand where it is and lift your second leg. And have both hands to the fronts of your legs. Now do the same thing again. Very nice to go into an arch, not so nice to go into a flat back. Arch and flatten. Arch and flatten. Now, this is a lot more intense, both legs. So if it suits you just to do 2 or 3 and have a rest, please do. Otherwise, a few more if you're happy to. And maybe just a tiny bit more pressure with your hands to the fronts of your thighs. Shoulders relaxed, long through that neck. Let's just do 3 more here. Are you still breathing into those ribs? Can you still feel that length through the spine? And you're going to bring foot 1 to the floor, foot 2 to the floor. Tip your hips backwards so that your back becomes flat and roll yourself up into bridge. Lift those hips up to open up through the front of the pelvis. So a very familiar move here, the bridge. Now, squeeze those glutes, those buttock muscles. Give them a really good squeeze. Keep squeezing them and roll down, making yourself as rounded as you can to the floor. Then relax your glutes and relax yourself back to neutral. So I didn't cue the glutes the last time, but this time I will. So before you lift, flatten your back. Now squeeze your glutes. Give them a really good squeeze. We did this in the first beginner back to basics one. Now roll up, and can you keep squeezing them as you roll up? Squeeze them as you roll back down and then relax. So we want those glutes working to reduce the load in the hamstrings. If you feel at the moment that that's enough for you to be thinking about, I'm going to ask you to carry on like that. We're all going to do the next one the same, and then I'm going to progress it. Come with me if it suits you, and practice where we are at the moment if that one's better for you. So let's go into our flat back again. Now, just before you lift, what are your feet doing? Are they in the correct position? Have you rolled onto your little toes, or can you feel the ball of the foot still connected to the floor? Flatten your back. Squeeze those glutes. Get them a really good strong squeeze. Peel your spine up and away. Okay, now we're going to put a little bit more load into that posterior chain, the muscles at the back of the body. So if you know you're a little predisposed to hamstring cramp, or I know one of you, maybe 2 of you, a little bit sensitive to sciatica, then you might stay here, as I say, and stay with what we were doing. Otherwise, lift both heels off the floor, come up onto your toes, and lower your heels and lift your hips a little higher, and lift both heels. Now, what I want you to do is 1 or 2 more like this, but can you make sure that your ribs aren't lifting with your hips? So as you lift your hips up, almost slightly send your ribs downward. And when you curl back down, how high can you keep your hips? As you draw your ribs down to the floor, curl back down and leave your hips as high as you can for as long as you can, and then they curl back down, and there is your gluteal work. Okay, well, let's do that one again. Don't match me for pace. You may be a little behind me. It doesn't matter one bit. Okay, check that your knees are in line. If your knees are really wobbly, grab your block or your ball. Put that between your knees to give you a little bit of a reference point there. Flattening your back again. Squeeze the glutes. Wake up the glutes. Peel your spine away. Now listen, when you peel away, do it in reverse. How high can you lift your hips before your ribs follow? So don't let everything move as one fixed unit. Pick up those hips, peeling away, leaving the ribs ever so slightly behind, so that when you get to your highest point, your ribs are sitting lower than your hips. Option 1, static pose. Option 2, keeping those glutes involved, lifting and lowering the heels. Okay, so this is our precursor to taking 1 foot off the floor. Let's just do 2, maybe 3 more here. A little bit more challenge, if you fancy it, is to take both arms away. Arms to the ceiling, just to take away 2 points of support. Watch your feet haven't snuck away from you. Okay, now you're going to bring your heels to the floor. You're going to lower your ribs, but can you remember to leave your hips behind? So curl down with your ribs, but keep those hips elevated as long as you can. Oh my goodness me, feel those glutes and hamstrings working. Return your arms And we're going to go for one more level. So you've already got 2 or 3 choices there of how to work. You can roll up and down. You can roll up into a static hold and roll back down. You can roll up with your heel raise. You can add the arms or not. Otherwise, in addition, let's have one more level here. So flatten your back, squeeze those glutes, roll yourself up. Leave your arms down to start with. Lift the heel of one foot and then just float your foot just an inch or two, just an inch or two. Then bring it into tabletop. Then lower back down, foot flat to the floor. No movement through those hips. Second heel comes away. Lift your foot just an inch or two to start with. I don't want you to load up the hip. I want you to load up the glutes. And then bring your leg into tabletop. And then bring your foot flat to the floor and roll down, keeping that beautifully rounded C-curve. We're going to do one more. Pick a level. Do whatever one is best suited to you today. Flatten your back. Squeeze your glutes. If you want to take your arms away, that's another level to add to it as an option. One heel off the floor. Hover your foot just an inch or two. Then bring your leg into tabletop. I want you to make sure the appropriate muscles switch on. So don't go into full range until you're ready. Foot to the floor, reset, pelvis in line, second heel off the floor, toes just a few inches off the floor. Then into tabletop. Then bring your foot back down to the floor, return those arms, roll yourself down, leaving your hips away as long as you can. And when you meet the floor, oh, give those knees a little hug. Well done. Great work. Okay. And these ones, I mean, this is a great sort of class for you to do if you know that there's certain moves that just really do defeat you. Pick that move, stick the class on recording on and have a practice 2 or 3 times a week and gradually build on the layer. Now, we're going to go into the one leg circle, but we're going to play around with it a little bit. The one leg circle is about the strength in the muscles around the middle spine. The work in the hip is secondary, okay? Our main focus is strength in those muscles to stabilize the middle spine. So we've done this one lots of times before. I'm going to do this as a little prep and warm up. Knees and feet together, and just take both knees right the way over to one side, as far as you like. Now, everything's gone as well. Probably the opposite shoulder's trying to lift. Certainly the ribs are off the floor. Now come back center. And now up and away to the other side. So what we're doing here is a spine twist. Lovely. Very nice. Okay, let's do one more to each side. We're doing a spine twist. We're taking it right where you might even turn your head. That's fine. Try not to let the opposite arm lift. Up and away. Back to the center. And let's do that one more time in the opposite direction. So there is our spine twist. Now come back to the center. Now I'm going to go and make it all a lot less fun. Now what I suggest you do is hold on to your ribs, slide your fingertips under your ribs. If that's uncomfortable, if your shoulders don't like that, then obviously just a variation of or not at all. That's totally up to you. Knees and feet together. Now take both knees towards the left without the right side of the rib cage coming off the floor. So you probably won't go very far. We know this one. We've done this one before. Back, center. Well, we know all these. Obviously, we've done everything before. Okay. Both knees to the right. And watch that the left side of the rib cage doesn't lift. Let's just keep this one going for another few to each side, another 3 or 4 to each side. This is your one leg circle prep in a way. Because when we progress, so keep this one in your back pocket. I'm going to come back to it further down the line. When we progress the one leg circle, we allow the hips to move as they are at the moment. So we will start it with a less challenging level in a moment, and then I will give us the option to progress. So I want you to become familiar with how this feels, i.e. the rib cage is glued, does not move, and we get the pelvis to rotate. And what is holding the rib cage there? This fabulous corset of muscles, hence the exercise is about building strength to stabilize, support the thoracic spine, the middle spine. Breathe into those ribs. Practice your lateral thoracic breathing. Keep those ribs quiet as you can. Okay, come back to your center. So that will be further down the line. But for now, I want you just to do a little fidget around and find neutral pelvis. Walk your feet back to hip width. Okay, so you've got that triangle, pubic bone, hip bones in line with each other. Lift your left leg into tabletop and just pop your hand on top of your knee and just take your knee off and away for a circle. This is our most elementary level. However, is your kneecap still pointing to the ceiling? Because you want to check that you're not letting your left knee tip out and face the left side of the room. Keep that left kneecap facing the ceiling. Is your right hip still connected to the floor? Reverse the circle. So at the moment, we are using the weight of our pelvis to stabilize us. So we're not going very far. It's quite a small range. Obviously, holding onto our knee reduces that range even more. Now come back to the center, give your knee a little hug. You can stay at that level, absolutely fine. Nice rotation of the hip, very much engaging the muscles around the pelvic girdle and the thoracic spine. So absolutely superb. We're going to have a few choices here of how to progress it. Take your hand away and or slide your right heel a few inches further away. It's not straight, but it's longer than it was. And then off you go. Now, because you're not holding your knee, you've got a bigger range of movement. Can you keep both hips square to the floor? Now, we all teach slightly differently. For me, I would prefer, if you're a bit tight in the back of the thigh, I would prefer that the working leg stays bent and the static leg straightens. Okay, so that we can really work on range of movement. If your working leg is straight and you're fighting it, you're sort of going to detract from the purpose of the move, really. Let's reverse. Now, as you circle, make sure that your static leg is just that. Okay, that foot isn't doing windscreen wiper action. Okay, hips are neutral. Pelvis is neutral, I beg your pardon. Hips are quiet to the floor. Now come back to the center and give your knee a hug. Okay, we're going to take it one step further. Now you've got the option to fully straighten out your leg. And if your leg is straight, flex your foot. Sorry, I beg your pardon, the right leg, the leg that's on the floor, I mean. Flex your foot. So your toes are pointing to the ceiling. Your foot is flat against an imaginary wall. Take your hands away, bring your leg into tabletop. Now, remember the previous exercise, how we let the hips rotate without the ribs coming away? That's what we're going to do here. So we're going to start with windscreen wipers. Take your left knee out to the left, back to the center and over to the right. Now the left hip lifts slightly as your knee goes to the right. Your right hip lifts slightly as your knee goes to the left. But what happens here is your ribs don't move and your right leg doesn't move. When you're ready, take it into a circle. And I want you to feel strong through the leg that's on the floor and through the rib cage. So you can let your pelvis lift. You can let that left hip come off the floor and take your knee right the way over to the right, provided you don't tip over and take your ribs with it. So there's a lot more focus here around the center. If this feels too intense, you've got some other level to go back to. Reverse it. We won't do too many because obviously we work pretty hard here. If you're really gripping at the front of the left hip, bring your knees slightly further towards your chest, drop your heels slightly further down. Okay, so that you haven't got a true tabletop. Come back and give that knee a little hug. I know it's a tough one. We're going to have a stretch before we come out of it. Well done. Okay, great. So bend both knees, bring both feet to the floor, flatten your back, roll up into bridge, and let's just open up through the front of the hips there. Just give the hip flexors a little release. Okay, so let's go to side two then. Curl back down. So we're going to start with the left leg bent on the floor, right leg bent into tabletop. Hold on to the front of the top of the right knee. 2 to 3 circles in each direction. We know we've got a lot going on here. So we don't want to do too many. So here we are, hips staying quiet, ribs stay quiet, kneecap stays to the ceiling. Don't let it tip out to the right side of the room. Just a couple more, making sure you've changed direction. But remember, are you still long through your spine? Are you still breathing into your ribs? Are you aware of pelvic floor connection? Is your gaze, your eye line straight up above you, not tipping out behind you? Give your knee a little hug. And you have the option now to take your hands away and or slide your static leg a little further away. So there's so many ways we can adapt everything. I'm going to take my hands away. You may choose to leave your hand there. And off we go again. So at the moment, the pelvis stays quiet. The ribs stay quiet. Imagine you're inside a really tight tube and it's holding you still and it's just your leg rotating above a static base. Okay, kneecap to the ceiling. Remember, you can drop your heels slightly further down. You can bring your knee closer towards you. Let's make sure we've changed direction. Shoulders relaxed and down. Lengthen through your neck. If you're more advanced, if you want to give yourself a bigger challenge here, you could work more quickly. You could make it larger to challenge your stability. Give your knee a hug. So if you imagine the larger the circle and or the quicker the pace, that's going to increase your challenge. I'm certainly working more slowly because of where our focus is. But as I say, you've got the chance to progress that one if you wish. Now let's take that leg out long on the floor. As a choice, remember you can leave your knee bent. If your leg's long, I want you to flex your foot. Give this leg purpose. This leg is now an anchor. Primary work from the center, but our leg is also there to give us an anchorage. Okay, now let's just windscreen wiper that working leg. Open and close. As my knee comes across me, I want to stay heavy under the right side of the rib cage. As my knee opens away from me, strong onto the left side. And then when you're ready, take it into a circle. The size of the circle is up to you. Challenge yourself. At the moment it starts to go a little wonky, then bring it back again. Okay, breathe into those ribs. Make sure that the leg on the floor stays completely still. You're not letting your foot waggle from side to side. Breathing into those ribs to give you support, to give you stability. Well done. And give that knee a hug because it's probably going to feel a little tight in the front of the hip there. Now, lift your second knee and we're just going to release it. Hold on to both knees and just pull both knees out away from each other. And come back in. Okay, super work. So two other moves that I want to focus on today. So we've done our circling. I want us to do some side lying work, and I want us to think about the 100. Let's go to side lying next. Actually, open up through the front of the hip. Now, option to lay long in this position. We are at our most narrow. So the body is going to try to provide a bit more breadth, a bit more width. Hence the hips want to roll forward and backward. So what you can do with both legs straight is bring your feet just slightly in front of you, okay? Just you're a very small angle here. So rather than being dead straight, you could bring both feet just slightly in front of you. And then to progress is to come onto a less stable base and to a less stable base, okay? Those are choices for you. We typically stay down here because I'm too busy rattling on about what's going through the body, but you can adjust that and we'll have a look at that. Upper hand here is a prop. It's not to be relied on. This is what's working. And now remember, again, just like our one-leg circle, what we do here is not about here, it's about here. Okay, so lift your upper leg, flex your foot, and just travel your leg forward and back to the center. Just forward and back. Take it behind you if you like. It's up to you, but just forward and back. Now, what I want you to do, if your hand is on the floor, I want you to try your best not to lean into your hand. If you feel able to take your hand off the floor, put it here and continuously pull away from it. So as soon as your ribs push into your hand, or if you're here, you roll into your hand, you've lost the purpose of the exercise, which is to build strength around that center. Point your toes. It's a bit trickier here. Start to take your leg back behind you. Don't go too far. Just behind the front, the lower heel is enough. We don't have a big range of movement going to extension. Now, if you need to get your hand here, please do. Absolutely fine. If you feel able to take your hand away, put it here and just notice that you're not arching your back. So the movement is coming from the hip, not from the spine. The spine doesn't change shape. And have a little rest there because I know it gets a bit achy, doesn't it? So we've also got our circle, but we're not going to circle because we've just done a lot of circles on our back. So we have the circle option, but we're going to come back to this one. And what I want you to do is to pop your hand under here. And we're just going to lift and lower. But every time you lift, excuse me, every time you lift and lower, I want you to try to pull your ribs just a little more off your hand. So that again, the work is from the hip, not from the spine. So I see people doing this, lifting really high and they've collapsed into the floor. So do you see it's not from here? I've changed the shape of my spine. Pull your spine away and then lift. And that's where your challenge is. Have a breather. We've got one more move to do here. So I want you to visualize the spine staying long, staying quiet. So we're going to go back to the forward reverse kick. Let me just remind you, we're going to put the two moves together. We did them separately before. You're going to kick forward, foot flexed, point your toes, kick back, toes pointed, and then flex to kick forward. If you get it the wrong way around, it could not matter less. Really couldn't. Just a bit of footwork. However, options here, add a little bit more power, a little bit quicker, maybe, bigger movement, and maybe or come away higher. It's up to you. I'm not suggesting you do. I'm just offering you different challenges because needless to say, as you pick the power up, you may find you're a little less stable. So just have a play with it. Just half a dozen times. See if maybe you can go quicker without upsetting that setup. Or maybe you stay a little slower still, but you come away from the floor without losing that alignment through the pelvis. Oh my goodness me, I think we've done enough of those. Achy hip, bring yourself up to sitting, and we're just going to stretch that side out. So bring that foot to the outside of the opposite knee and just give it a little pull. So have a play with those, but I hope the setup makes sense with regards to the purpose of it. That's why it's so important, the position that we're in and the preparation before we go into the movement, which is why I know I say quite a lot, is slow down. Even if the exercise itself gets quite punchy, slow down the transition. Get set up, get ready, put your seatbelt on, check your mirror, put the car into gear before you reverse out because somebody might have just stepped out behind you, kind of thing. Let's come on to side two. So wherever you started on side one, repeat it here. So look at me for a moment. My natural prep here, like most of us, can you see how much shorter my upper leg is? That's because my ribs have sunk down into the floor. So all I need to do is pull my upper foot away and ta-da, there's that space there. Okay, so just play with that yourself. You may find that, just moving around like that is really good practice. We talked about this in our side bend class last week. Okay, pulling that upper foot away to get that connection. Visualize your spine. If your ribs have dropped down, look what's happened to your spine. It is not neutral. Okay, hand to the floor, foot flexed, kick forward. Okay, so you know what's coming. You can have a play with this one. I'm just giving you guidance and you can have a play. You can progress it more quickly. If it suits you, you can go into a forward and back. You could come up to here. But just let's make sure that we cover on this side everything that we covered on the opposite side. Okay, have a little breather if you need to and come back into it. Toes are pointed when your leg goes away. It's not a deal breaker. The reason we cue toes pointed when the leg goes back is to help to really lengthen all the way through this anterior chain. So think about lengthening right the way from the base of the rib cage attachment up here, right the way out of the toes, and then we shorten it all. But it's, you know, it's the icing on the cake, really. What your focus much more on, what our focus much more on, is staying centered, staying controlled here, so that if I was to come and kneel by you and have one hand to the front of the back of the one hand to the front, one hand to the back of the rib cage, there's no movement there. Okay, option to come up here, and then don't forget a few side lifts. So if you are here or even here, that's where this one becomes, excuse me, a lot more intense, because look how much shorter I am here from here. So when I lift, that's already tough. I shorten it and then lift, I'm already sort of under stress. So there's so many ways that we can adapt to make it best suited for us. What I would always ask, though, is that you always do one side the same as the other. So work to the ability of the less able side. Let's just put this one to bed. So just finishing what you've done, making sure that you've worked both sides equally. And then when you're ready, come up and out of it and give that leg a little stretch. And we're going to finish with the 100. Don't worry, I'm not going to make it too brutal. Okay. Sorry, I've got a bit of a whizzed out early with the dogs, got caught in the rain look about me at the moment. And it was a choice of, shall I have a coffee or shall I sort my hair out? And the coffee won. Sorry, everybody. That's just how it is. Okay. So onto the floor. Please, knees are bent, feet are on the floor. So let's go into our 100. We know the 100 typically comes very early in the series. Not that it matters, but if we're doing the 34 moves, the 100 comes very early. We're thinking about really powerful breath. So we're going to exaggerate the breath. Now, actually, Michael King told a really, really funny story about, it was Ron Fletcher, how you hear people breathing really loudly in a class, thinking that, you know, that's Pilates breath. No, it's not. It was because Ron Fletcher couldn't hear very well, and he'd asked people to breathe loudly to make sure he knew that they were breathing. So that's why you hear people breathing loudly, but that isn't Pilates breath. That said, we're going to do that just to make sure that we're in the zone. Put your hands around your ribs. Breathe in as you count in for 5. And as you breathe out, I want you to imagine you're holding a straw between your lips, and breathe out. And then breathe in. And so breathing in really strong through your nose for 5. Hold a straw between your lips and blow out. Purse through your lips. Breathe out for 5 as you breathe out. And breathe in. And put your hands around your ribs. And oh my goodness me, how hard are your abdominal muscles working just simply to facilitate that breath work? You are doing the 100. You don't need to go anywhere else. You could stay right here and work like this. You could be in an advanced class, and while everybody else has got their legs long and their arms are beating and blooming da-dee-da-dee-da, singing Land of Hope and Glory, you could be here doing this, and you are doing the 100, okay? Now, just relax for a moment, and we're going to take it just a step further, but if you'd like to stay here, please do. Otherwise, just start to find your breath. Breathing in 5, breathing out 5. Leg 1, tabletop. Don't let your breath get affected. Leg 2, tabletop. Now you have the choice of imprinting, as we did at the start, or staying neutral. Now, when you've lifted that second leg, if that becomes too intense to you, bring one foot back down. Do 5 breaths with one leg, and then 5 breaths with the other leg. That's completely fine. If you're happy to have both legs, hold it here. And then from here, as an option, lift your head. Take a little nod of your chin. Now float your arms away. Whether you're laying with both feet on the floor, with one, with both, whatever. Float both arms away and let's just bring those arms in. Don't be too dramatic. Breathe in and move your arms up and down 5 times. Breathe out and move your arms up and down 5 times. Now, if you're moving your arms too violently, that your head is bouncing, your shoulders are shaking, please reduce the work. Now, I want you to lift your arms just slightly so that they move up and down above your hip line. Your eye line is between your thighs. Need to put your head back to the floor? Go for it. Please don't use a hand to support the weight of your head because that's not going to progress our learning in this move. So if having your head off the floor isn't comfortable in this move, bring your head back down. Put one foot to the floor if you need to. Adapt the movement of your arms so that you are stable. You're challenging shoulder stability. We've done loads of pelvic stability, thoracic stability. Now let's think shoulder stability. Let's just try a couple more breaths. Breathing in for 5. Remember, you're moving out of your shoulder. Please don't flap your wrists. You're not drying your nail varnish. Okay, breathing out for 5. And as you finish your out breath, this next time, come out of the move in reverse. So finish with your arms. Arms return to the floor. Head returns to the floor. Foot 1 to the floor. Foot 2 to the floor. Take both legs long. Take both arms long and stretch. Full body stretch. You know, if you want to pick one exercise to practice, that's not a bad one. Every morning doing the 100, something like that. It incorporates a lot more of the body than is immediately obvious. But as I say, just start with hands and feet on the floor, head on the floor, and just work on that breath work. It's amazing, isn't it? How we can really better understand lateral thoracic breath and really sort of, invigorate those muscles around the abdominal region. Bring both arms back down, please. Bend your knees. Now, I'm going to ask you to move slowly because, you've just had a big breath exercise. So you may feel just very slightly lightheaded. So please move slowly. I want you to come over onto one side, rest on one side just a moment, and then take your time and find your way back up onto your feet. But please take your time. Okay, and if you're feeling a bit dizzy, you stay where you are and you can join us in a moment. We're nearly finished. All right. So we started on the floor, so I want us to finish standing. Stand tall, shoulders back and down. Again, you've all immediately, before I've even said it, you're immediately thinking about your own body scan, posture check. So just the same as if you were laid on the floor, pull your fingers down towards your heels, towards your ankles. Push the crown of your head up. Tailbone should be pointing to the floor, not backwards or forwards. Tailbone to the floor. Ribs very gently drawn away from the front of your t-shirt and stand tall. Where is the weight in your feet? Do you tend to overpronate or roll in or roll out, whatever? So just give your toes a little wiggle. Maybe lift your heels a couple of times if that helps you, just to sort of recalibrate through both feet. Turn and look over one shoulder. Bring your head to your center. Deep breath in. Breath out. Turn and look away over the other shoulder. And come back. I want you just to roll your shoulders just 2 or 3 times. And relax. Now don't go anywhere. Don't change anything, but just come back to this triangle. And is your pelvis in neutral? And if it isn't, that's okay, but isn't it good to realize that? So we've done all this work, and if it isn't in neutral, then it's just like, okay, right. So I need to just think about and relax. Well done, everyone. Any questions on that or any of the classes we do, you know how to get hold of me. I hope you enjoyed that. And yeah, good work. Get into the library and get practicing. Well done.